Welcome to Taste Buds. I'm Debra Eckerling, goal strategist, writer, and foodie. And today I'm speaking with a Happie Hoffman, who is a singer-songwriter and food lover. Welcome, Happie.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you because you, like me, are a former non-cook, and you really discovered that joy that only comes from cooking not too long ago. So what is that food story?
So that food story is originates in the middle of the pandemic in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I understood that if I wanted to have a proper Shabbat meal, it was the moment where I had to learn how to make it for myself. And so yeah, so I really that was the moment where I looked up, okay, these are the tastes and the feelings that I have from growing up and having holidays. And so I had to learn how to do it all myself. A lot of times at a Shabbat, either it's a potluck or somebody else is cooking, or family, um, my family is making it happen, and I'm always helping, but I'm not actually orchestrating the food portion. Um, and also a lot of times at a Shabbat, my contribution is a song or music. And so, yeah, um, yeah,
So you really went from not really cooking to, okay, let me learn things so I can make these favorite dishes?
yes. It was a it was a really funny moment because I was also living with a girlfriend, and neither of us cooked. So we were both in this funny moment of like, we're gonna learn to do this. And we would have nights where we would just go to the kitchen and both kind of like laugh and stumble through making dishes. And we also like took a bunch of videos of ourselves like doing this because we're like, I guess we do it like this. And really sweet memories now, and really fun to look back on.
Let's talk about music. What is it that you do and what is unique about who you are in the music that you bring out into the world?
So I'm a singer-songwriter. Um, I write heartfelt music. Some of it's more acoustic, some of it's indie pop. And I also spent most of my 20s traveling around the world leading Jewish music. So I still do that often. And I think what makes my music unique, especially since I really started professional music in the prayer space, is that it's very soulful and heartfelt. It just really comes from my depth.
Do you remember that moment when you're like, for me, it's not just music, but I need that Jewish influence in it?
Well, I remember being 16 years old and walking through the halls of the synagogue to our Sunday school class or something. And I was pulled into a room where there were five other musical teenagers. And they were like, we're going to train you all to be the music teachers. And I was like, how did I get here? And once a month, we had a few professional Jewish musicians come in, Rick Recht and Sheldon Lowe, and they trained us on how to lead music. And that turned into me doing that professionally as a job on the side in college. And then that turned into me traveling the world, um, leading music throughout my 20s. And and also in that process, I was writing my own music just about, you know, love and things. And it all evolved very organically.
Nothing like being pulled into a room and saying, we're going to teach you to put you on a different
Be
path.
music teachers. We're going to teach you how to be music teachers.
So it almost feels like that calling kind of found you.
It did.
What
Music was always a part of me, but that was definitely a moment where I was guided, and I'm very grateful for that.
what is it about music that I mean, we always need music, but what do you believe is the benefit?
The way I see my role with music, um, is helping people access emotions. And so the way I see that for me is that if I share vulnerably from my heart, whether it's melodies, prayers, or lyrics, songs that I write, then that is what it's about. That's what's going to move somebody else. So for me, the special thing about music is the ability um, for people to connect with it in an emotional way. It's like, we're kind of programmed that way. We're programmed to react to somebody's voice, a baby's cry, or somebody yelling. And in the same way, there's something about music and the human voice that I'm not sure I even have the words to explain, but I see it work sometimes.
Music is also very healing as well. So I would think during these challenging times that we're in right now, how are ways people can use music to keep them going?
Mm. So music is a tool. It's a way to change your state. It's a way to, you know, connect to a sad feeling or move yourself into a place of hope. I know that sometimes if I'm in a mood where I'm like, this is interesting. I can turn on a song that completely um, shifts the way I feel, whether because of the way the music sounds or a memory that I have associated with that song. So I think that, of course, there are many tools that other people in other professions could say, this is how we get through this. And I can say that um, listen to music, listen to music that moves you. And and if you are a musician, play, express, because that's also so healing in a way that, of course, it feels good and fun to play, but to express is very important if you are a creative, I believe.
And then there are the creative elements of cooking. So do you find parallels between creating music and creating recipes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I think that cooking is a way to get into flow state as well, a way to really be focused on one thing, to be of service, and to in real time understand what you can change or shift um, to make things more delicious, and then also to present them in a beautiful way. Um, I know I'd love to share. A couple weeks ago, I was at a dinner at one of my friend's houses, and he was cooking, and I was kind of helping by chopping and things like that. And he laid out a huge um, piece of paper on the counter, and all of the appetizers were just in little different sections. No plates, no anything. No plates, but just it was a beautiful display, and it was part of the experience of that dinner feeling just comfortable and not so formal. And um, yeah, so it cooking can be an art, and also savoring. Um, eating, of course, it's something we have to do to survive, but also really savoring the flavors, being present with whatever you're getting to experience can make it magical.
It sounds like it's just a melding of the arts, right? Because you've got all the senses in the display of the art that was food, and then the symphony of putting it together. Am I doing good on the metaphors?
Yes, you really are. Totally. The friend that was cooking is also a musician and artist, and And yeah, I know that he fully believes that when he's making a dinner and creating an experience, that the whole thing is art. And I also believe that and feel that way.
What is a recipe that is meaningful to you and why?
So the recipe that I want to share goes back to that scene um, in the middle of the pandemic where I understood that I had to learn how to cook the things that I loved for the first time. And so I decided to cook to learn how to bake a gluten-free cinnamon challah. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and there's a bakery there called Ricky's Cookies. They have She has the most amazing cookies called chipsticks, and she has this cinnamon challah, which is also probably one of my first food memories. And it is so good. And so I am gluten free, and I did a lot of research on how to make a gluten free challah. And then I did some research on how to make a cinnamon challah. And I I cooked that for the first time. I baked that for the first time, and it was great. And then I did it many more times after that.
I know for me, as a former non-cook, whenever I give a recipe or create a recipe, I'm like, who is this person? So how did it feel for you that not only do you create this music that's very soulful, but it sounds like you created this really meaningful recipe as well. So what was that like?
It felt really good to learn how to do something on my own that I'd never done. And I know that many of us can probably identify moments in our lives like that where we're faced with a moment where we have to do it on our own. And so I felt really accomplished and really excited about it. And also it felt, I mean, it did feel like a rite of passage, you know. I for so long the matriarchs of my family and the patriarchs of my family have provided these amazing family moments for me. And I understood that, wow, I get to do this. I get to play that role, and I can play that role, and I got this. So that was a beautiful moment with the challah.
It sounds like it was really empowering for you.
It was. It was.
For people, whether they want to create music or salad or challah or any form of art, what advice do you have for them so they know that they have it within them?
The advice that I have is to have fun with it and to look at the whole thing as an experience, from the shopping for it, from the prep to the presentation. That would be my advice, is to try to erase the stress of, oh, it needs to be and look exactly like the recipe. And give yourself the permission to, to have fun with it and enjoy the experience, and, um, and make art that's in service of yourself or people you love.
When you learn something, whether it's a fine art or music, you need to learn how to do it, and then you can create your own compositions or masterpieces. And I think it's the same with cooking. You need to learn how, and then you can just have fun with it and see what comes from your heart onto the plate.
Absolutely. That is true. That's true also with music. You have to know the song or know it in your bones before you can um, add your spin on it. So I do really agree with that.
Where did your love of music come from? And how did it go from this is fun to wow, this is my life?
So I'd always loved music. I started piano lessons when I was 4. I always loved singing and sang a lot growing up. Um, Musical theater, all of that. Then was pulled in um, to to be in service at the temple that I grew up in Memphis. And so it's unique because there was never a day that I woke up and I decided I want to be a professional musician. And I'm lucky in that way. I really started to get hired to work at summer camps and then ultimately retreats, BBYO conventions around the world. And before I knew it, my dad looked at me one day and he was like, you have a business. This is how you make an invoice. And also, I know all of your friends are getting internships during the summer, but this is your job. And if you love this, you should follow your passion and keep doing this because it's working. And so that was a moment of understanding that this could be my job, but I never, it was always just a continuously walking through open doors and saying yes to the things that really excited me.
You do know you're lucky. Not everybody
I know
gets that.
I am lucky. And it also, I will say that there's an element of because of what my dad told me, follow your passion. Um, I was, I was focused on saying yes to things that were exciting to me. And I had to turn away other things that were not. So, and some of those things felt like real sacrifices. Um, so I am lucky, and I also I've really tried and in definitely moments in my career, really committed to um, doing the thing that I feel like I was meant to do.
I believe that when you really step in to this, it not only helps you, it helps everybody else because, as you were saying, it's in service to others.
Absolutely, I think that when people are doing what excites them or something that they feel activated by, that energy is contagious. So you are likely to be more successful at that thing if you are doing something that that you feel excited by. And I will say that is tough, and I know um, not a given, and in a lot of ways, yeah. But I do believe that is a special thing that you can feel it when somebody is doing what they love.
This has been really wonderful. And I love the connection of food and music and the love of what you do in your life. I mean, that is what it's all about. Do you have any final food for thought you want to leave people with?
The food for thought I would say, is to savor the moment, savor um, the meal, savor the taste, savor the people that you're spending time with while you're at a meal. Of course, as foodies, we're focused on the experience of the dining experience. But what I would want to share is that community and relating is so much of that piece, and so many special things can happen in between the two chairs of people sitting down for a meal. So that's what I would say.
Oh, thank you so much, Happie Hoffman. Where can people learn more about you and your music?
You can find me on Instagram, or you can find me on Spotify at Happie, Happie. And yeah, you can find me around Los Angeles every so often at Mishkan Tefillah, but I would love to stay in touch. Thank you.
Did your parents know when they named you Happy that your life would be, in service of spreading joy? Or was it just a happy coincidence?
Well, I don't think they knew exactly what would happen, but I think they hoped that they would have a daughter that, you know, lived and grew into that name. Um, so they did they made a choice. And yeah, I do think that having the name um Happy, I run pretty happy, but um it's it's maybe affected who I am and who I have become. I'm very
Sounds
grateful to
like
my
good.
parents for that. Yes, they're both creative people, and they I think they did hope that that was their hope for me.
I think they succeeded. Thank, thank you again, Happy, for joining me. Thank you for tuning in to Taste Buds with Deb. Don't miss an episode. You can subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and/or your favorite podcast platform. And if you go to jewishjournal.com/podcast, you can read the article and get that gluten-free cinnamon challah recipe. And also read the other articles and get the other recipes for each episode. And you can learn more at tastebudswithdeb.com. Until next time, be creative and bon appetit.